Hello everybody, it's Friday night and that means it's Weekender time. On this week's show, we'll be journeying to Middle-earth with the rarest of indies. We'll be going full BORG into the Kickstarters and getting very fickle about our 3D printing. On top of all of that, one lucky subscriber will get a chance to win the Cursed City reprint from store.ontabletop.com. To be in with a chance to win this big bundle prize, you need to be a subscriber to the channel, pop a comment below, and if you can share us around on the socials to help us out, that would be terrific. Otherwise, kick back, relax, put your feet up, because your weekend starts here. Hello everyone, back with you for another weekend's worth of fun and games. And with me are Warren, Free and Benjamino to take us on our little dander. Pleasure to see you all once again.
That's a lovely word. That's a lovely colloquialism.
Yeah.
Going for a dander.
A dander. You're not really aiming for anywhere in particular. You're just going and going with the flow. That's a dander.
Take a dander on our dander.
Well, I've got big news, Jerry.
Big news.
Big news.
Massive news.
Right? Everybody in the community, ears open, eyes awake. Next weekend, me and Jerry's doing a live show. Oh, me, Jerry, and Justin is doing a live show. So what we're doing is we have a 2.5 hour special going out next Saturday between 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. So it's Saturday afternoon TV, guys. And basically, this is the UK Games Expo pre-show live show.
Show.
So it's a pre-show live show. And we're going to just go on the ins and outs of UK Games Expo. But you know what? All that. The main thing is we are giving away a metric ton of amazing prizes. I mean, loads and loads of prizes are going to be divvied out during that 2 hours live. You'll be winning it live. You will be winning with tiger blood and all of that jazz, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, and to give you an idea of what the prizes are, they're huge. They're massive. They're still coming into the studio, and we're getting into a position where we can start working out prize bundles based on my height. I think we're somewhere in the region of at least 2 Jerry's worth of prizes at the moment.
Oh, the Jerry bundle.
Yeah, so we're giving away board games. We have loads of board games we're giving away. We have 2 grand prizes, right? Which is, I believe, 2 full weekends at UK Games Expo, including hotel, weekend tickets, parking, the works. Yeah. I'm telling you, look, join us for that live show. It's 2 hours of absolute crack. We're going to have fun and games. That's how you're going to win the prizes and stuff like that. We're going to get some of the exhibitors on to give us a little bit of a heads up of what they've got planned for the show or what's coming up. And yes, it'll be 2 hours of entertainment to get us totally in the mood for our trip to the NEC this year.
Yeah. Big prizes, big money. I love it. Yes. And so that's 19th, Saturday the 19th.
Yes.
It's a good way to recover from your Paddy's Day hangover. Just chill on the Saturday with us. Like some sort of tis wasn't. Perhaps.
Yes. It's been running through my mind, the vibe of it, Jerry, and I keep thinking like number 73 and stuff. And then whenever it emerged that Justin was actually joining us on the live show, I thought, gunge machines. We need lots of gunge machines. This is going to be like Saturday morning telly.
I would pay good money for a UK Games Expo branded Mr. Blobby to chase Justin around and beat him up. That would be great.
This would not nightmares are made out of them. Yeah.
I thought that was just Warren.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I could do that. I just chase them around with bucket loads of guns. And do you know what? The farmers out here have started spreading the slurry. I have ready access to great guns right now. I'll just bring it all with me. So
you need to invest in a really good super cycle with gun. Yeah,
it's going to be great. It's going to be great. No, it will be good fun, guys, and I'm looking forward to spending a couple of hours on a Saturday afternoon nursing our hangovers and having some crack.
It's all about the crack. And speaking of crack, the most cracky part of the show, Warren, would you like to do the honors?
Oh.
Yes. No, I'm still recovering. I apologize for my absence, everybody. My third bout of COVID did a real number on me now, but I'm recovering. And I'm ready.
Jerry's ready with his headphones off.
It's time for Indie of the Week.
Oh. That has blown away the cobweb.
That's great. Really blew us away there, didn't you?
You can tell the road to recovery is going well.
All right, who is it this week?
Well, this week is a little pick from Benjamino.
Yeah.
It's going to be Badgers or something like that then.
No.
It's not Badgers.
What's your second guess?
Well, yeah. What is
it's going to be either Badgers or Dwarves, isn't it? So,
well, there are Dwarves involved.
All right. Oh, okay. Badger Dwarfs.
It is, in fact, Mithril Miniatures. This is a sister company to Prince August, who started way back in the mists of time with essentially picking up the license for Lord of the Rings after, I think, Ice had it. Grenadier used to do the miniatures for them, and then it went over to Mithril instead. And the interesting thing about this is these days 32mm would be the norm. These are all sculpted at 1/56th scale. At the time, they were sort of larger collector's pieces, and they still very much have that feel behind them, even though they were made with the view to using them incorrectly in RPGs. But the entire range has been sculpted from the late 80s by one man. Yep. So there's been a solid consistency throughout by Chris Tubb. So there's a lot going on here.
Yes,
I'm going to very quickly start with the I was going to say Fight Club, the Fellowship Club, just to let people know that this is a thing that exists before we dive into the miniatures range itself. Because they started as a sort of they started as the RPG side, but they have the Fellowship Club where you can essentially join in, subscribe, and every month they have a vote. People nominate something to be pulled from the pages of Tolkien's work. These days, it's just The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. There, you will see in these pages some stuff that comes from the Silmarillion. I can never pronounce that word. Anyway,
the book that no one has ever read.
Over the years, though, Bree's
read it, haven't you?
I have. Yeah, I have. I audio. Do you know how I read it? It took several. I was captive on a plane. Audio book with the book in front and read as it was read to me. That was the only way.
Was it one of the planes from Die Hard 2 that were just circling for hours and hours and unable to land? Because I imagine that anyway. But what they do is every month they ask their members to vote on something that they want to see made, and then they have a vote to get the shortlist down, and then a vote from the shortlist to pick what it's going to be. And then Chris goes off and designs it and makes it. Sometimes it will run over. Mostly it's a single character, but occasionally if there's not a huge amount of votes in for 1 month, they might do like a double month, so make something a bit bigger. And then I think like once every quarter they have an open one where they can do like larger scenes or vignettes or things like that.
So what you're telling me, the one beside that you've just clicked on, that one there,
astrologer.
Yeah, so everybody got together and voted for Dumbledore.
Yes.
And they made Dumbledore, yeah?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Very much so. And the interesting thing about this is because they are literally just going through and picking bits, you get weird and wacky things. Yeah. You get your Dumbledore Gondorian astrologer. but you could also get, Samwise at the 3 farthing stone, obscure bits from the books that you may not otherwise see, that become sort of very unusual collector's pieces.
That's the reason why. That's the reason why I wanted to pick this and sort of highlight it, though, because so many people are very aware of the Games Workshop line of miniatures, all based on the films, obviously. So the New Round stuff and the Warner Brothers things. But the thing that's really nice about the Mithril stuff, and as Jerry was alluding to there, is that all of it's taken from the books. So it's all taken from the descriptions of Tolkien's world and its characters, its costumes and everything like that. And that's why when you look at a lot of the miniatures, you'll think, oh, that looks a little bit weird or a little bit odd. But that's because it's all drawn from the artwork that either he had a hand in, or illustrators have had a hand in over the years, or he has described in the pages of, The Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, and the appendices and all that kind of thing. So it's a very in-depth collection for someone who loves the books.
And it's also intriguing because I'm going to ask the question on everybody's mind right now. Who the hell is Grond?
Exactly.
Well, Grond is the head of the ram that they used to smash down the gates of Minas Tirith. There you go.
It's a specific piece from the book. Yeah. And I can only imagine when the guy suggested this, that he has an idea for a diorama or a vignette in mind and wanted this. Because whenever you get anything from the Fellowship Club, it gives you additional information. So the head of Grond is the metal battering ram used to smash gates or obstacles. It was shaped in the heads of the wolf and named Grond in honor of the huge Warhammer wielded by Sauron's master Morgoth. Yeah. The other interesting thing is when you get any of the Fellowship stuff, so this is the 186th release for the Fellowship Club, whoever is the winner, whoever nominated Grond or the miniature of Samwise, whatever, they get the option of having the very first casting that will be individually numbered for them as well. So obviously there's that club side of things where they're very active with the community, and because it's always going back to one guy, there's always the consistency of sculpt and scale going on, which just shows a almost insane amount of dedication. But as Chris once said, he's got 4 kids and they all need to go through college, so he'll be sculpting for some time.
They've been doing it for 30 years.
30 years, yeah.
Started in 1987.
Just getting started.
Yeah. So where do we want to go then? Is there?
I mean, that swan boat, I'd love to put in the middle of a modern table, just in the middle of a modern park, and just Galadriel on a swan boat. What's she doing here?
I think one of the best places to start is actually with the box sets. They do like a series. Well, they're quite old now, but they do a series of box sets.
We'll just have a look at the swan boat there.
You could replace that as a pedalo any day. You really could. That's fantastic.
It is fantastic, yeah.
That's way a bit.
Great, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so bizarre.
I was going to say, one of the things to note about these as well is that you may think, oh, this is an interesting race I've never heard of. Some of these are so collectible that they're worth around like £1,000, something like that. Just single sculpts on some of these. So bear that in mind when you go. Maybe if you've got some Mithril laying around in a box at home, I would check out how much it's worth.
The first 80 models ever cast, they no longer have the molds for them, so they're not even listed in the classics range, and they go for insane amount of money. They go for, I need to put a deposit down on a house style of money. So it's always good.
Yeah, there should be a box set link that I dropped for you guys.
Almost entirely, but I imagine I've moved on from there because life's too short.
There we go. Yeah.
Oh, these are great.
So this one's quite nice, obviously, because this gives you a sense of the sort of classic models that you'd want to add into your collection. So you have the Company of Thorin and the Hobbit and stuff, and that's obviously the scene where Bilbo's presenting the stone to Bard and Thranduil and stuff in the Battle of Life. And then that's what the thing that's really nice about this is that you look at these and you're like, I love how different that is from Peter Jackson's vision.
Yeah.
I love how kind of classically historical these look. They look like sort of soldiers that you would have seen walking around in the Middle Ages and the Dark Age and things, sort of drawn from the ancient world, which is obviously what inspired Tolkien when he was writing the books in the first place, trying to create that sense of mythology that was almost grounded within the real world. And I really like that here. And almost you can actually see a lot of the influences in some of the design of the the Men of Laketown and stuff, in the way that Games Workshop then sculpted the new models and things with that kind of like the fur hats and that almost rust influence as well. So, but yeah, there's some really nice. I particularly like obviously the Fellowship is great, and also the smell of the Triumphant.
The Shelob's lair is gorgeous as well.
Yeah,
giant really spider. Nice.
Camped out, people. Well, have a look at the Fellowship.
You did ask.
The links now.
I suppose the Fellowship is a good one to have a look at because they are what people come to expect, and it's interesting when you start looking through some of them because if you just pull up the show me all the miniatures, there's a million pages.
Oh man!
At last count, there was I think over 600 individual sculpts kicking around, all done by one man, which is madness in and of itself. But you get to see things that you wouldn't ordinarily think of, so like the Hoard, the nomadic Sauron friendly berserker types have this very sort of Celtic / Mongolian feel to them.
Nice.
Which is very, very different from the very
way they're represented.
Yeah.
Is that an unshaven Aragorn at the top?
It might be.
Yeah.
That's how he should be, because as was written within the books,
indeed,
the men of the Dunedain do not grow beards. They are because of their elven blood and stuff. In
they're very, very different. But the tactical stubble, I think, is an important thing.
Tactical stubble
in modern.
Well, it's made a million women around the world blush whenever he comes on screen,
or burst through the doors. Either way,
burst through the doors. He knows how to make an entrance. Yeah, but the thing that what's quite nice about this as well is that because they've done all the basics for what you'd need to play Middle Earth, and because the scale is 32 mil, which in many ways is very applicable to the kind of ranges that we have now out there in the world, you could easily match these up with a lot of the collections that exist for example, the Oathmark stuff and that kind of thing. Like, because that's so very Tolkien-esque, you could almost use those, for these guys to go and fight off against goblins and all sorts of things. Either then using, the existing Games Workshop rules set alongside these miniatures if you really wanted to, or come up with something of your own and have a go with it. But it's just a really nice one to dive into because you've got so many little tiny nuggets of sort of possibility with this range, and especially the big stuff is phenomenal. And everybody wants a Smaug in their life.
Oh, that's great.
This is the other thing they do, which is very nice. They are, because obviously a lot of the stuff becomes collectible or collector's items, and you get people who are fans of the book but may not be hobbyists and miniature gamers as well. They do a line of pre-painted or patinaed, so they'll have metal miniatures or metal setups like this, where they're finished off in a certain style, so it has that either metallic look or it has the full paint job, the sort of thing you're looking at there. Obviously you're paying for it, but considering some of the prices I've seen professional miniature painters charge, it's not terrible. You're probably doubling that. So, you're paying like 100, 120, that sort of thing, for a painted diorama of a 28 mil dragon. And you're going,
that's not too bad, yeah.
No, because I've seen people charge by the millimeter, and
also
big things like that it would cost hundreds.
That version of Smaug is decidedly cheaper than the Games Workshop resin one, or the plastic one anyway.
Yeah, it's
probably a wee bit smaller, but also that means you can actually put it somewhere.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I dread to think that people have to put the massive one.
Remember, guys, we've got a game show on Saturday the 19th. Justin's going to be there. So if you've got ideas for games like Jerry has...
Say nothing.
This is just great, this one.
Hide the Smaug.
This one's my favourite. This is
such
great.
A nice take on it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's not often when it comes to Shelob, you get a lot of interpretations that he's just one big giant spider, but you get the characterisation of Shelob in this, which is in books.
Yeah, Shelob has almost human type qualities there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, is that how it's described, or she's described in the book? Is it?
She's just known as a big spider in all realisation, but it's a hybrid Shelob, from what I'm aware of.
They also they took inspiration for that when they developed Shadow of War as well, which was the Lord of the Rings sort of action game where they made it so that she could turn into like a beautiful woman, almost glamour herself, a little bit like Sauron would glamour himself. Yeah. It's a nice little scene as well. That one, it's really well put together.
It's not right.
No,
I know right. That's not right.
One of the nice things about their range that I know a lot of people come to these ones is they come and get these really big miniatures. So they do lots of different dragons, which is really cool. And then they do things like the Balrog and all sorts of things. It's obviously a little bit more inspired by the.
That's nice. That's very Oni looking, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Although the thing that I still don't get, it's got wings. It's not meant to have wings, but never mind.
Does the Balrog not have wings in the book then? No.
Well, it's a subject of.
I don't remember if they did.
Amongst the Tolkien community, a lot of people say that Balrogs don't have wings. A lot of people say that they do have wings.
Yeah, but the Tolkien community, what do they know?
Well, exactly. That's very true. Yeah.
It's the same as the Pratchett community, right?
Yeah.
Perception.
It's whatever they harp on about things like hobbits with shoes on and stuff like that.
I like half as much as them as well as they deserve.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's so cool seeing this alongside the really old artwork as well, because this is the kind of stuff that obviously taken from all these sort of old role-playing games and that kind of thing, and the old covers and artwork done back during that period of sort of like the 80s and into the 90s.
What a cool take on the fell-based.
Yeah, it's more in line with a sort of classic dragon than it is sort of like the weird worm that you see now, which is really cool. It reminds me that it would be really good at one point in the future to see the Frank Frazetta version of a lot of these miniatures. That would be pretty awesome. But yeah, that's maybe for another company to deal with. But yeah, it's really nice stuff. The thing that's quite good about it as well is that a lot of people take these and use them not necessarily for gaming, because a lot of it's all collector's pieces, really. Yeah. And they'll use them for massive dioramas and all sorts of different things like that, and using things like this to create little vignettes and stuff as well. So it's the kind of stuff that inspires you to, do something more with Middle Earth, I think, which is really cool. So yeah, it's a nice little trick.
I'm pretty sure I bought Justin a book of Frank Fazetta's. And they literally had no clothes on.
Well,
they were all entirely naked.
That is what he quite liked doing. So
I think if you find it today, you'll find it all strategically punched.
I quite like how they do this. They break them down by
that's a great idea.
Because it means you're not having to troll through lots and lots of stuff to find things.
Let's have a look at objects.
I'm going to go to objects because there's a couple of weird things in here that people can explain. Obviously, we've already seen Grond and the
that Boromir boat is great.
It's a dead Boromir.
You too can fill all of Sean Bean's potential.
I can't remember if I told this story, but when the Lord of the Rings first came out, the Fellowship of the Rings, I went to the Science Museum in London with my brother, and we were looking at all the stuff that they bought over from Weta Workshop.
Yeah,
and in there they had the whole of the Boromir boat set up with obviously the prosthetic version of
the fake Sean,
the fake version of Sean Bean. But because it was so warm there, it looked like there was condensation on his skin, and I was like, they can't put a person in there, can they? And me and my brother were
some poor jobbing actor.
Yeah. And we knocked on the glass. We were like, oh no, it's okay. It's just a puppet.
Wouldn't you shut yourself if the eyes open?
Stop knocking on my thing, boy.
Now, who's that there? The Baldor's?
I would love to tell you who Baldur is, but
no.
But that's just how weird and obscure this stuff is. But, yeah.
Baldur the Hapless. So, Justin, second Lord of Mark, brother of Aldor, third Lord of Mark, said to have passed along through the dead door under
Wimmerberg.
Rash vow as he drained the horn of the face, blah, 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 passing through the dark door.
See the guy, the only one that made up to the door?
A mighty man, clad in mail. So there we are.
So literally, they have made a model of something that Aragon walked past.
Yes.
This is incredible.
That's how in-depth this is. Yeah.
Blown away by this. Do you know what? If you were a Lord of the Rings fan, This is all you would ever need. You could just
that's why I wanted.
You could just marry yourself to Mithril here and spend the rest of your days exploring that hobby in depth. Look, I have no doubt if we dig a bit deeper, we will find the blade of grass that Gandalf tripped over on his way to the forest or something like that. There'll be everything in here. I love it.
Do we have Radagast? Does Radagast exist on?
There will definitely be a Radagast.
If we go via the medium of wizards.
But you could quite possibly, maybe even literally, play out or at least make a scene from Bilbo's front door all the way to using this range. So
oh, that's great.
With some little hobbit children.
That's fantastic.
Coming at you like Cleopatra. and there's Elisar.
Young Aragorn.
Nice.
Who's Elisar?
Well, he's one of our community members, but apparently he's named after something from this book series, which I hear is going to be very much the coming thing. But it does tell us down here that he was
Aragorn.
Aragorn found a new seedling growing on the hills, and it shows Aragorn planting it while Gandalf looks on.
All right.
So Elisar must be the white tree. Is that
all right? Okay. So
Elisar in this case is the twig.
It's a twig.
Aragorn's hand.
I knew
while
that.
Gandalf looks on.
Was my confusion. I was like, there's people here and there's a tree. Fabulous.
Gandalf with a crow.
Here's Gandalf going, no, I don't need you to take the ring. I've got a midget to do it for me.
Not back when we're in peril.
Take him as far as you can fly.
No, none of that. Yeah, they're a stonking bunch of miniatures there. Where have I gone? Here's my wizards.
Did we find a Radagast?
Not yet.
There he is.
There he is.
Now, is this one covered in bird? And has he got a chariot pulled by beagles?
He's a young, handsome-looking Radagast,
youthful.
Not a weird, washed-out Doctor Who-looking Radagast.
Who would have thought?
Quite a noble-looking man, isn't he?
Really? He's not covered in bird at all.
It's the broom.
It's a crying shame. We came for the bird, but we were sadly disappointed. Makes a really nice just ranger, actually.
That does look very nice, Ranger. You're right.
I can't remember whether they do the blue wizards. I think they do the blue wizards.
There he is.
That one.
Wizard of the East.
Oh, there's Radagast.
There's the little guy we know.
Being older and more... He's got a cat.
He's got a cat. That's me in Lord of the Rings phone.
Boom.
Oh.
They're his familiars. Yeah. Now, who's the blue?
They don't come into it very much.
Yeah.
The blue wizards don't come into it very much.
Yeah. So they're the ones that travel all the way over to the east, and it's presumed that they died trying to stop the sort of Haradrim and those forces over there.
And being the blue wizard, they obviously have the finest wizard sleeves of all the wizards. Yes,
makes sense.
That would
I thought so.
have a quick look through some of the fun dead.
Yeah, they do some great stuff that you could be used for like Barrow Whites and all sorts of different things. So cool.
Not Barry White.
Not Barry White. Yeah,
well, it could be that as well.
They would sing you to sleep. They'd then just kill you afterwards. That would be so. Yeah. This was a scene that was missed out in the movies and obviously in the radio player and everything as well.
Yeah,
where they go to the Barrow Downs and they get captured by the Whites. And then they are freed by Tom Bombadillo.
Oh, good old Tom.
Nick some stuff on the way out.
Yeah. Take these barrow blades. They will be useful.
This is the thing, though. You can play any Lord of the Rings playthrough or whatever it be. Just chuck Tom Bombadil in the middle and it changes everything.
Dwarves, the most important
here we are on dwarves.
Yeah. Well, there's somebody fighting and then there's somebody writing. Which is better? That's the question.
Supporting all dwarf hobbies.
Oh, and there's no, are they orcs or rooks? Which one are they?
They put them at orcs, yeah.
Although orcs and goblins and orcs are more or less the same thing. So.
Oh, okay.
So it's just differences in naming conventions for them, really. But that's like the last stand of Ori.
Oh, look at his little sleeping cat.
Yes, that is.
In the Chamber of Marzabal.
Just reminds me of Naked Gun. Yeah. Do you want a nightcap? No thanks. I don't mind.
That's the book that Gandalf reads from when they go into Balin's tomb. So, my heart.
Get out. We cannot get out.
Yeah. We're in a strange sort of like aside. A couple of weeks ago, I went to go and see my parents, and we were just chatting about normal things. And then my mum went, "You like Lord of the Rings?" And she's like, "What's your favourite moments?" And I went, "Why did you ask it?" And she was like, "I just want to know." And I was like, "Oh, it's the bit where Aragorn's leaning over Boromir when he's died in the Fellowship of the Rings. That's one of my favourite bits." And then she went, "Oh, that's nice." And I went, "Oh God, I'm actually tearing up a little bit now." And she was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm getting emotional about a scene that I'm not actually watching." So
I know.
That's the bit of the tree where he leans over and he goes,
"Yeah,
you deserved that, you twat."
Well, yeah, that's the other interpretation.
Please note,
That's probably
had
maybe
a shield.
Not so
Why did you not use the shield?
Oh, I love Gollum on the raft behind.
Gollum on the log is great.
I want to add him into many different board games I have, especially that includes Malta. Yeah. Gollum on the raft at the back is fab.
Lord of the Ring creatures.
Oh,
including
Tom.
I love that Tom Bombadil's a creature.
Well,
he's a Bombadil.
He's not a human. He wouldn't fit a human or wizard.
No.
And what's he doing with the One Ring? Why has Tom Bombadil got the One Ring? Did he have it at one point? Or
so when they're traveling out of the Shire, they go through the Old Forest, and in the Old Forest they meet Tom Bombadil and Goldberry. And when they're in Tom Bombadil's house, Frodo hands over the ring to Tom Bombadil, and he just takes it and plays with it and makes it disappear, makes it return, and he's not affected by it whatsoever. And when Frodo's like, "You should take it," and he's like, "Oh no, I don't bother about these kind of things." So he's like a weird
being,
yeah, sort of otherworldly, almost godlike figure. So yeah,
and there's his wife.
And there's his wife.
Good old Goldberry.
Yeah. He was punching up, shall we say?
Yeah.
Nice.
Well done, Tom.
Well done, Tom Bombadil.
High five.
Dudes like that, they show us that there's hope for all of us.
Yeah.
So
the vignettes you could create from these are gorgeous, aren't they?
Yeah. Because a lot of this stuff is for areas of Middle Earth that
this is up north.
You've never even seen. Some of these all the northern tribes up by the ice flows and all that kind of thing that you never see and stuff. So, but yeah, it's a truly, well, as we've seen, in-depth collection for basically everything Middle Earth, really. So
I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom and go, here's the humans. And there's many, many pages of the humans, including, there's one of the Farrads there. So you can see
that's a cool take.
I love the tash.
Very different.
That's glorious, isn't it?
Very different from what you see.
It's Lemmy. It's Lemmy in Lord of the Rings.
That makes a lot of sense. I can see that happening. Plus pages upon pages of the men, and as they go back in time, he transitions from a lot more of the older stuff is just the miniature. The newer stuff, when he started doing CAD design, you'll see the renders as well. But it's interesting how he's managed to keep his sculpting style, even though he's transitioned from traditional to, I suppose, modern. Although I don't approve of modern.
But what's quite nice about this as well, when you talk about like his sculpting style, is that it's fascinating that it remains so almost true proportioned. Yes. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the time when you see fantasy stuff from sort of like 70s and 80s, it's all big heads, big hands, because that's what draws the eye and stuff to the tabletop. But because these have been designed as collector's pieces to try and make them as applicable to the books as possible, they all have that true sort of quality to them. So I think it's really cool. Yeah.
And there are, because I mean, that's not even halfway through. There are
now up to 10 pages.
Wow.
So there are
You're going to find some really
many. Occasionally you will find can I get to the last page? I think like page 10 or 12 is the last page. They do things at Christmas and they'll do them in 54. So one-offs and larger collector's pieces.
There's Faramir in 54, yeah.
Go way back, there's 1997's Theoden. That's the Christmas collector's piece.
97.
That would have been 10 years old.
I was there, Gandalf. I was there 3,000 years ago.
I didn't
when
do
the
anything.
Strength of my wallet failed.
That's a nice theatre.
Also, a nice thing they do it on their face page as well, but they have galleries where people who have bought and painted the miniatures then just send in their pictures going, here's what I've done. And as you can see, there's been a fair few. And you can just start going to, let's open a Gary McNancy. See what they're like. Oh, they're quite nice. I like them. I approve. You can see the sort of how various people have painted them up.
That one's fab.
Which is really nice because it's not just professional painters, it is just collectors putting these in. And you'll see all ranges of painting style and skill, from people who are just doing the very, very basics to people who are doing, stunning display pieces, and all points in between.
I am trying to help you. That's what that says to me.
Is it?
Bilbo back.
Get your ass out of the chair, Bilbo. I'm not going to endanger one of my pigeon friends when you... No, sorry.
No, can't say that one.
Do you want an interesting 1997 fact?
What happened in 1997?
Right. In 1997, there was a young guy. He was 14 years old. His name was Nathan Zonner. Okay. Mm-hmm. And he won first prize in his science fair project. Okay. And his science fair project was he managed to get 43 out of 50 of his classmates to sign a petition to vote to ban dihydrogen monoxide.
Dihydrogen monoxide.
Dihydrogen monoxide. And he managed to get 43 of his 50 classmates to sign that petition to vote for the banning of that, substance.
Because 100% of people who have had it have died.
Yes, 100% of people who have taken this substance have died. So it's now to get you're probably wondering where's the science fair aspect to this, and this is why it's relevant to today, because back in 1997. His project was to prove that the use of true facts can lead an ignorant public to false conclusions. So yes, you can use a true fact, but that doesn't mean that the people that you're telling the fact to understand what the hell they're listening to. Mm-hmm. Because another name for dihydrogen monoxide is H2O. Water.
They wanted to ban water.
No.
Oh, there you go.
He didn't want to ban water.
He wanted to prove that people would ban it if it sounded scary.
That people would ban it if they didn't understand what they were.
Clever clogs.
Wasn't he? And so fake news. So back in 1997, young Nathan Zonner was well ahead of the curve on that one.
There we go.
I wonder what he's doing now.
What are you up to?
There you go. There's your 1997 fact.
Thanks.
Yeah, and Titanic won 11 Oscars that year.
Oh, there we go.
It's good to know.
Titanic did not, in fact, go down in 1997.
No.
Slightly earlier than that, but there we have it. So there is Mithril Miniatures.
Love it.
We haven't even scratched the surface. If you're a fan of Lord of the Things, you should definitely have a look. Like I say, it is specifically Lord and Hobbit these days, but in there you'll find the occasional gem from some of his other works before the licensing was sort of tightened up over time. So you may find the occasional little nugget, little lost gem. Somewhere I've got Gandalf confronting Grima and Theoden. Mithril, which is a really nice little set.
Cool.
I bought it in the midst of time. It's not made it into even priming yet. I couldn't find it when I looked through the website though. So
it'll be one of them ones worth thousands.
Oh, who knows, Sherry? Exactly.
That's your mortgage covered, man.
I'm keeping it. It's mine. Can't have it. Anyway, we're going to take a quick swish, and when we come back, we'll be having a look at the news.
Coming to you from the center of Northwestern Europe. Covering board games, war games, card games, and all that you love. It's the news.
Okay, folks, so kicking off the news, it's all about me. Me. Mantic have announced Firefight is coming in April and coming up for pre-order this weekend.
Yeah.
So if people are unaware, Firefight is their, I suppose, large skirmish game within the Warpath universe. So Warpath is the big overarching game. Firefight is the large skirmish, and then Dead Zone is the small sort of unit-based skirmish game that all exist part and parcel together, supplemental, if you will. So this has been in beta for the last sort of year, where I've been playing around with it. And they've done quite a lot of changes for people who played the first edition. So Warpath was very much Kings of War or Apocalypse for 40k fans. Before Apocalypse, where you didn't remove individual models, you removed units. This is more like a 40k style game where you have units with individual figure removal in there. But Andy, who's a big Dead Zone community member, has worked with Mantic in doing the alpha rules and then went into beta. And from there, they've come up with a new system where it's using D8. So it sits neatly above Dead Zone for people who've got in via the smaller game, but then also includes a command and control system within there using a set of command dice that are very familiar for people who've played Vanguard, allowing you to play out larger games, but in a very quick, easy manner, but still giving you a lot of choices as to what you can do. And by varying up the leader in charge of your faction, you can have very different effects on the tabletop. So a enforcer with a recon sergeant will play different than an enforcer with a peacekeeper captain, because they have access to different command abilities. One will be more sneaky and scouty and snipey. One will be more get up close, jump back into their faces, and then punch them repeatedly with vibroblades, which is all good. The new set will contain these new hard plastic marauders, which are essentially orcs.
There are those orcs that you wanted that look tough and mean and can kill you, Warren. So there you go.
Very much so.
They're not comedy orcs. So
they're an interesting faction within the Warpath universe, in that they found them essentially savages on a world. GCPS rocked up and went, oh my God, look at these things. They're sort of naturally immune to low-level radiation. They're really tough. They're beefy things. Let's take them off planet and train them up, fill them full of protein powder and send them on their way. And the orcs love to fight, and they train them to be the best soldiers, the best forces they had. And then eventually the Marauders went, why are we doing this for humans? And rebelled and just went. So they now rampage the universe. That's and cool. There's a lot of time spent trying to suppress them from actually becoming the dominant force in the universe. They should have left them on their planet. Never interfere. But it's great to see a new take on Firefight, changing the rules in a way that makes it more accessible and faster playing. And also, by Grabthar's Hammer, there's a lot in that box for people who want to get into it. So
71 miniatures.
I'm going to quiz you on this. What's going to make me want to play it, Jerry? It's where does it deviate from the normal? Where am I finding the spice in this?
So you've got alternate activation. It's not I go, you go. So you're constantly having to decide what you're going to do with your plan for whatever the mission is you're playing. But at the same time, you've got options from the command dice that your opponent also can then hamper you. So you're constantly having to be flexible, be fluid when you're trying to achieve your goal. You're not just going, I've got turn one, I've got all the big guns, I'm going to just blow you off the tabletop. It's
so I move a unit, then my opponent moves a unit.
Yes,
but before all of that, do we roll for some? Like, is it Saga-esque in terms of how the command works?
The little command dice here. I wonder if I can actually show you a better picture of those. Let me do this. Yes, there we go. So depending on your commander, you'll get these command dice, which will have either 1, 2, or 3 symbols and blank faces on them, and you may have different levels of commander, so you'll be rolling different numbers of these, and then these give you your command points for the turn, and they can be used to roll extra dice, get extra abilities, maybe activate something twice. You have this difference and flexibility within the actual rule set that comes out, and there are certain things that are standard for everybody, so everybody can spend the points to improve a dice roll or improve the amount of dice you're rolling for something. But then there's also the specific command structures within the forces that will have their own individual little options. So enforcers who are about hit and run will have the options to do certain things, or marauders who are a bit more get up close, shoot and punch will have their own options. And you can find that you can blow through all your command points and try to be very spectacular and do something that might punch a hole in your opponent's line for next turn. And then what will happen is the following turn, or not the following turn, before you get the chance to do that, your opponent then gets his turn. He'll bring up somebody from reserve. He'll use his command dice to thwart you. So you've got a lot of back and forth, but tied to it is a very simple.
And how does the game handle terrain and the likes? Does it feel like it integrates with the terrain, or does the terrain become a wee bit?
No,
more
terrain's very simple. There are more fleshed out rules for buildings and going into buildings and accessing them, but then it also has the sort of the flow for that Dead Zone has, where it uses terrain very organically. If your squad is partially hidden behind it, then you get the chance to sort of lie in wait behind it. You don't have to spend a lot of time trying to work out where people are and are not.
See, that's good, and that's one of the things that I love most about Dead Zone.
Yeah,
is I didn't quite like. It took me a while to completely grasp its genius, but its abstraction of terrain and the grid system really does make for a fantastic game. And I'm just wondering, like, that's what speeds things up. You know, you can still narratively, have it in your mind. These guys are all kind of moving around and they're ducking in behind the terrain and stuff like that. But but at the same time, I'm long past sitting with laser measures trying to work out who can see who and whatnot, as if everything's just static on the tabletop.
Thankfully not. It's almost like a blend between Kings of War and Dead Zone, where the terrain has heights and the like. So you're just going, well, that technically counts as being height 3. I've got a height 4 walker, or I've got a flyer that counts as height 6. I'm over the top, so I can see you, and then how much can be seen will let you know how much sort of cover you're going to get. The other thing they're doing is releasing strike forces. So 7 strike forces coming for release. So Forge Fathers, Marauders, GCPS.
Man, I love those walkers.
The Astrians, Enforcers, Filth, Veermen. Everybody loves Tumblers. Look at that. You're one step away from crying there. And the Plague are getting them. And these are coming in 75 quid. I roughly ran through it because I've got
that's pretty damn good. Geez.
Yeah, I've got the beta rules, so I totaled them up, and they're coming out between 800 and 1,000 points. Firefight base game is a 4x4 with 1,000 points. So in some cases, the Plague, that's pretty much your force. Boom, done. In some of the other ones, you may have to buy a unit or two, but you're not having to buy much. A couple of those strike forces, you and your friend can go ahead and start playing.
Very cool.
Immediately. Yeah. So it's going to be fascinating to see the uptake. It was always the child in there. Warpath had a very defined idea. Dead Zone had a very defined idea, and then Firefight almost felt like it had sort of been pushed out to fill a gap, but without much thought behind how it was going to fill that gap and whether or not people wanted it there. And it suffered for it in the first edition. So this edition, I think, brings in the sort of the benefits of the Dead Zone style of play and the D8 system, along with the command and control structure, the command.
Well, here's my final question for you. I'm entering true grognard territory.
Yes. Feel free.
These days, I basically say to companies, "Yeah, lovely armies. I've got tons already.
Yep.
I'm just going to bring my own army. So if I want to bring my pew laser mushroom men of hell to this game."
Yes.
Question 1, is it worth the effort to do that? And 2, does the game lend itself to me taking some of my sci-fi armies and saying, "Oh, do you know what? I'll have a lot of fun with that sci-fi army using these rules to play out a game."
Absolutely no reason why you can't. And it'd be a case of just going, well, what would be the best
bit for that?
The best list to use to
something
play
as a starting point.
Because I've got a ton of Sedition Wars, their version of the Plague, which was like a nanotechnology, and they have very similar weird and wacky constructs of aliens and humans that have been melded symbiotically with machinery and this nanotech that's sort of gone through them all. They look very different to the Plague that exists in Mantic's Warpath universe, but I could still use them as that. And it's finding the right proxies for them.
I have a couple of AT-43 armies lying around that I want to.
Yeah, I use the space apes as enforcers. Maybe
I've got space apes, and I also have. Do you remember the bad guys, the dark,
the black, the Therians or Tetrians? I would start with
Therians.
Anyway.
Yes, termites, Jerry, termites. I have the termites, and once again, I'm looking at these things, and I think to myself, it's all well and good, but hey, a lot of us have now been in this game for some time now, and we have our armies and things like that there. Is it worth having a crack at the game so you could go down to the local club and still give the guys who are getting into this a run for their money?
I think one of the nice things about it is that the philosophy that Mantic have always seemed to have anyway from the outside, even from its inception really, was the idea of taking things from other games and here's a set of rules that you can use. Like all of Kings of War, you could make those armies out of billions of different combinations of forces. So I don't see why it would be any different sort of also like in the grand scheme of things to do the same thing for Warpath. And
at some point we'll get a free set of the rules up on the website. They normally do it a month or so after launch with the basic rules for people to have a look at. At the moment, you could probably still grab the beta rules from the Facebook group if people want to have a look through them. They're not particularly long. List-wise, like I say, there's 7 armies there already. There's a couple of other factions that they haven't gone near because they're not really supposed to be full armies. They work in dead zones, so like Rebs, the rebels fighting against like the brown coats from Firefly. Eventually, they could probably become a full army, but at the moment they're not there, so I don't think they have a list at the moment, or the nameless.
Makes sense.
And the thing about this is,
but they can expand on that in time.
Yeah, in our industry, right? The entire industry follows when they come to do their sci-fi games and their fantasy games. They follow specific archetypes.
Yeah, certain tropes.
Okay, so and the archetypes are pretty much standard right across the board. It's. I don't think it'll be too difficult to find an archetype in there that'll suit an army that I have.
Yeah.
You could probably find a whole bunch of stuff 3D printing wise from the folks at One Page Rules. One Page Rules have done a hell of a lot of armies that could be used as pretty much anything in Warpath or Firefight. So.
And you'll be able to grab the rules by themselves. So the rules come in 2 books: the rule book and the army list book. So once you've made your army list, you don't need to bring it with you. You can just bring the rule book. And after that, the only thing you need are D8 and then the command dice, which they'll be selling separately. So it's not a major imposition if you're looking to just pick up the rules to play with existing forces. Yeah. And like you say, there's plenty of existing forces out there from the past 40 odd years of sci-fi gaming that you can chuck whatever you want on the top. It's whether you think your mushroom men would be better as marauders or maybe as some sort of terrible underground vermin threat. A tide of mushroom men welling up from the ground.
I think know
about that if they come at you.
In a big mushroom drill.
Mushrooms.
Yes. What?
Mushrooms will go through concrete.
What's next?
Mushroom.
What's next? Well,
what's next?
Going from the dark and gritty to, just friendship is magic, really. So we're seeing 2 new My Little Pony titles, and it's such a difference indeed. I couldn't think of a smooth segue, guys. I couldn't. We've got 2 new My Little Pony titles heading to our tabletops. So we've got the official announcement from Renegade with My Little Pony role-playing game and My Little Pony deck building game as well. So starting with the RPG, what Jerry is on at the moment, uses the core book there. So it puts players into a custom storytelling journey that is centered around, you guessed it, friendship and magic. So they'll create their own bespoke character in the universe of Ponyville, coming against conflict, threats within Equestria, and many an adventure with villains and story and character creation involved. If you do pre-order this from Renegade right now during the pre-order period, you do get a free PDF as well. So this isn't coming out until Q3 this year. So we don't know when exactly this is going to come out, but you've got plenty of time to pre-order and plenty of time to get PDF to add to your digital library as well. So if you are keen into dipping into the world, there is also a character journal to log development, additional adventure, the GM screen, dice set, dice bag, and a very special deluxe edition of the core rule book if you're feeling fancy. And there's only 3,000 copies made, and it's bound in foil, and it costs the same.
And when you buy that, you get branded with your own pony mark. Yeah. They come around and stick it on your rump.
Good.
Free of charge.
304 pages for that.
It's a pretty weighty
Quite
tome.
chunky, isn't it?
I've got real RPGs that have less pages than that.
Oh, no. Hang on, though.
No.
Hang on, though. I've got a confession to make here.
Go on.
I've role-played in Equestria probably more in the last 3 years than I have in D&D.
What's your character like?
So,
what kind of pastel did you go for?
I'm telling you, I created my own pony, a little
shadow.
tornado on his arse.
Oh.
So he was real kind of ADHD kind of swag pony. Anyway, so I went round and I ate all the pies. I basically did what I would do
as a pony.
But as a pony,
yeah,
and it was great. I ate all the pies. I helped a pony find a lost pet.
Oh,
ponies have pets too, apparently. So. Yeah, and
little tiny humans.
Yeah, my own little trip of ponies. All loved the ponies, and they loved throwing the poly dice and stuff like that. So
I think it's going to be great for kids. I think it is
going to be great for kids because it does teach that natural empathy and what you need to do working together in a friendship scenario. But
I didn't grasp that bit. That bit was a bit lost on me, to be honest. For me, it was
the pies. Yeah, it was the pies. Yeah, but as you know, as Warren's just said, the RPG there is an RPG with River Horse at the minute, which is Tales of Equestria. I know there's a fair few people running campaigns through this, so there is no reason to create and adapt that campaign into what's coming up in the Renegade system as well. More stories and adventure. So along with the role playing game, My Little Pony Adventures of Equestria deck building game is coming soon. So players are heading off into deck building adventure. They need to quest their way through different locations, build up a team, collaborate, and overcome anything that may jeopardise all that good, clean friendship and magic. So they will be required to hunt for different resources as a way of improving their deck and journey on through the story. So like the other one, if you do pre-order this one, you get a free maple pack as well to add to your missions. So that's all on the Renegade store at the minute. So
When I initially saw this, I thought it was going to be like a collectible sort of deck building style game, but actually, I really like that it's all actually just self-contained and it's just the one cooperative adventure. I think that's really cool.
And don't let the skin fool you.
Weirdly enough, exactly, never let the skin fool you. Because I was back in the day, about 5
in my time.
I played. My friend was really into just any kind of card game, and so he picked up the My Little Pony one because he heard that it was really good mechanics in it. Mm-hmm. And I played it, and I was like, nah, it's My Little Pony. I'm not going to give this a go. And then I sat down and played the game, and it was genuinely mechanically very, very good. So I'm kind of hoping that Renegade have managed to pull off something similar, and they've gone, don't worry about the look of it. If you want to sit down with your kids or your family and play a really fun card game, hopefully this will work quite nicely and be a mechanically satisfying game as well.
Wacky fun. Speaking of quirky food then, Ben.
Yes. You know how we were saying earlier that when it comes to miniatures within our sort of our industry, they're all kind of follow the same kind of feel and that kind of thing, which is generally the case, apart from in the case of Quirky Unlimited, who are actually working with an artist called Art Vidir to create a range of food fight miniatures in 32mm scale. Now, as you can see, the artwork is pretty wild.
Potato Man!
Exactly. The idea of this is that the artist, art, has taken these miniatures and stuff that are sort of based on sort of fast food or fruit and vegetables. That was kind of like the main theme of it, was like fruit and vegetables battling against each other. And then Quirky Limited have come along with their sculptor called Graf, very cool moniker, who has then turned these into the models that you're going to see in the news story. And it's actually a really nice blend of kind of traditional sort of D&D style classes, then mixed in with all the different types of food. So the one that sort of was like caught everybody's attention when we first saw it was the hot dog sorcerer, or the hot dog wizard that you see there, which I just think is fantastic. And what's really cool about what we've seen so far from the renders, and actually you'll see some of the miniatures later as well, is that they actually have come across really nicely from the initial drawings. I think so much of the fun and the characters has been kept, and a lot of the kind of sort of action to the sculpt as well. So a lot of the stuff that sort of makes the miniatures pop is sort of carried over really nicely to these. You'll see it in the French fry warlock as well, which is just a weird thing to say.
Has that wait, go back there, Jerry. Has that hot dog is that a Prince Albert in his tongue? What's going on there? Is that a pierced tongue on a hot dog?
Could be a pierced tongue. I was hoping it was saliva.
All right, okay.
Because it's
all right. It did lose. Like, that's a nice touch.
He's even got
there's a Prince Albert in my hot dog.
He's even got a sort of like Harry Potter style lightning scar, but made out of mustard. So, I thought it was a nice little touch. But
you are a total geek, aren't you, boy? You are total geek.
Definitely. Like the French fire warlock is amazing, and I really like how this translates over into the render as well, because they've actually managed to the sculptor has actually managed to put the kind of like sigil on top of the book. Which I think is really awesome. And it's a really interesting one, because obviously you've got the kind of almost absurd nature of the food. Then mixed
he kind of looks like an unhappy meal, doesn't he?
Yes, he does, exactly. Yeah, you got like that absurd nature of the food, then mixed with a very almost serious sculpt for the fantasy armor and the clothing and the accessories. So it's a really nice sort of mashup of the two. Haha, mash.
That's the face I make when someone nicks a chip off my
off the old block there,
oh dear.
But we've seen a couple more. So we've got the red velvet sort of warrior Templar there as well, which I think was really cool. So it's
red
like
velvet. So is he a cake?
Is he a cake?
Oh, I like the
red velvet cake with the ice cream sundae.
Yeah. The crest there, which is very nice.
It's so funny because they almost look normal, and then you see their heads. Yeah. It's fantastic.
Yeah. I like to imagine they've all been turned. They were all human.
And they've been turned into these,
because otherwise it makes no sense.
Of course, yeah.
What?
And then you've got the jelly crossbowman.
Which I'm fairly certain is modelled after Intelligent Mr. Toad.
It does look a lot like him.
Michael.
Yeah. If he gets shot with an arrow.
I see what you mean.
If he got shot with an arrow, that would go straight through.
Yeah,
it would.
But like a ballistic block being shot by a magnet. It's right the way through.
And then
his head would wobble.
Yeah, so obviously these are sort of in the works at the moment. These are some of the early 3D prints that have come out, and I think you can agree they've come out really nicely.
Yeah.
These were sculpted by one of the people sort of working with them behind the scenes. The idea is that they're initially going to come out as STL files, so you'll be able to print them off and get them at home. But they are then going to look to see what the kind of demand is like going forward, and then they'll turn them into physical miniatures. As I say, they're going to do them in 32mm, so you'll be able to use them if you really wanted to for your sort of fantasy games on the tabletop. And then they're also going to be making additional sort of painters pieces in 54mm as well. So if you wanted to get a massive hot dog and paint it up to put on the shelf, then you can do that as well, which I think is really nice. Because who doesn't want a big dog?
Yay!
That's it. Then so we're all there.
Grubhammer then from now on.
Yes.
Grubhammer, yeah.
The donut guy. I love the pizza guy as well. They're pretty good. Yeah.
They have quite the depth of stuff to draw from there. So it's really
love
nice.
it. Yeah. Okay, what's next?
Okay, there's something really exciting happening over at Restoration Games. If you're keen on diving into the ever-growing world of Unmatched, it's been a long time coming, but we finally get to see Marvel releases this month. So, reinforcements arrive, bringing the Redemption Row and Hell's Kitchen into the fray. No, I was really disappointed to find out that Hell's Kitchen does not, in fact, have Gordon Ramsay in it. Just to claim for you, really disappointed. I could think of loads of different abilities with a kitchen knife named Yes Chef or Idiot Sandwich. But anyway. There are 2 new sets releasing this month. So you've got in the first one, you've got Luke Cage, Moon Knight, Ghost Rider characters with miniatures as well in the Redemption Robox, which can be purchased now. And you've got Elektra, Daredevil and Bullseye in the Hell's Kitchen box due at the end of the month. So Redemption Row flexes Moon Knight's ability to interchange into different personalities. Luke Cage stands tall, hard as nails, flexing his titanium skin and mighty strength. And Ghost Rider is so hot that you're going to need a pint of milk, really, as he's channeling his Hellfire for brutal attack. You're heading over to Daredevil's Playground in the Hell's Kitchen box, with Daredevil proving to be strongest when he's exhausted, which I find to be incredibly infuriating personally. Elektra's bringing in her size as well to the party. She can kick back when she gets a knockdown, and Bullseye unleashes brutal strikes from anywhere across the board. Pretty good assassin, in all fairness. Again, I just want to add, disappointingly, no Gordon Ramsay in this box. So... As I said, first 2 instalments from Marvel are coming to Unmatched this month, but also joining the fray this year, we've got a Teen Spirit box with Miss Marvel, Squirrel Girl and Cloak and Dagger. And there's a For King and Country box coming up with Black Widow, Black Panther and the Winter Soldier. Plus, if you do see them out in the wild, as Jerry just saw there, the first of the Marvel releases are already out. It's quite difficult to get your hands on, but Deadpool is available to purchase at the moment. If you do want to add him to your cohort of Marvel characters. Unmatched is a lot of fun. I get a lot of fun out of Unmatched. And adding adding superheroes to it is going to really change the dynamic. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be quite fun to send the likes of Ghost Rider against Buffy and Willow, or against some rat.
Well, against Buffy, maybe he'll get done up like a kipper by.
He will do. That's the thing that's really, really good about the Unmatched series and what Restoration has done as a whole, is that they took that concept from the original sort of game way back when, and they've sort of reinvigorated with this idea that they can plumb the depths of all popular culture and somehow mechanically make it so that it all works really nicely together.
Yeah.
So you could have 3 raptors going up against Daredevil from like Jurassic Park and stuff, which I think is really cool. Yeah. And it just means that it's very collectible. There's lots of different boxes you can pick up, or if you're, specifically focused on the idea of just liking Marvel things, just buy these 2 boxes and have fun with that, and it should give you plenty of evenings of entertainment. So very cool stuff.
Indeed.
Fascinating. Historically interesting, though. The Barons' War.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the Barons' War, from the folks over at Warhost and their lovely partnership with Futsal Miniatures and Games. We did mention that they're going to be heading to the Crusades with their Outremer campaign in the near future, later this year. But Hobdy has been showing off some sculpts, as he is wont to do, to make everybody drool over the work of Paul Hicks once more. And so we got a couple of really awesome previews this week. So we got the Knights of the Order of St. John there, which I thought was fantastic. Amazing looking sort of like crusading warriors. I have a thing about like crusaders and paladins, and so seeing these guys with those really badass helms and the big cloaks and the robes and stuff. It's just
dude
fantastic.
From Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones
there as well, yeah. He goes fully in going on the Crusades.
Caesar's brothers.
Yeah. You've got the ones that obviously died before him. Yeah. You've also got a really fun set of pilgrims. Now, what was really nice about this is that he said that a lot of times outlaws would pick on the pilgrims as they're heading to the Homeland. And he said, but sometimes the pilgrims knew how to fight back. And so you've got these guys who have like picked up their knives and cudgels and sticks and staves and all kinds of things. And they're just trying to beat up the bandits that have come to get them. I think it's really awesome. And again, just filled with all the character and the sort of the nuance that you get from Hicks's work, which is fantastic. And some really fun little models there.
This is Lloyd's Crusade here. This is like the Peasants' Crusade. Lloyd and his 3 buddies.
Exactly. He'll have even more miniatures to pick up and paint. Yeah, that's the thing. We've also got a look at sort of, I guess you'd say it's sort of the other side as well. So you've got the Ayubid Spearmen as well. So these are kind of, from
Look at the character in their faces.
Exactly.
The sculpts are gorgeous.
Like Hicks is amazing. There's a reason why he sculpts for everybody. Everybody and their mum. But I really like these because they've been sort of done up as kind of like, obviously, the forces that perhaps would have fought into the Saladin and that kind of thing. But this was also during the period where there was a little bit of a peace between sort of the Crusader states and Saladin and all that kind of thing as well. And so these could be used as mercenaries. They would have fought for the likes of the Franks and all that kind of thing as well. You could use them as bandits, as part of like a sort of like a raiding caravan or something like that, and all kinds of things. So there's some really nice bits and pieces in there. These are the spearmen in particular, but they're going to be working on a whole bunch more as well, as is the case normally with a lot of these Barons War Kickstarters. I would assume they're going to probably be looking at terrain and all sorts as well, as they did last time too. So.
And this is a group of guys playing paper scissors.
I'm really glad you said it was spearmen, because it really looks like that, all rolling a dice, cheering.
That's how the war for Jerusalem was settled. What paper scissors here. We also got a look at another preview for a sort of mini expansion that's being worked on for the Barons War as well. So this is The Greatest Knight, who is also
going to be King Richard, isn't it?
Well, it's William Marshall. So.
William Marshall?
Yeah, so this isn't necessarily just for the Crusades, although he did go.
He's not the greatest knight.
He was labelled as so.
Hang on, so what did he ever do for us?
What did you do? Why are you so great?
Well, I haven't researched extensively about William Marshall, but I do know that he basically was there at pretty much all of the pivotal events in the Middle Ages, more or less. So he fought for 5 different kings.
5 different kings.
Yeah. Right.
He was the regent and protector. For Henry III. So when Henry came on the scene, his dad went, "You know who needs to look after you? This guy here look after you." His early life is almost more interesting than all the stuff that came later, and all the stuff that came later almost fascinating. His dad was on side during the Stephen and Matilda had a civil war. In the sort of the early period just after the Norman conquest, and Dad changed sides from King Stephen to Empress Matilda during, and then obviously at the period of the anarchy, and little William got grabbed by the other side, and when they were sieging Dad's castle, they said, "We're going to kill your son." And his dad went, "Go ahead. The hammer and anvil that forged him still work. I'll make some better ones." And so they put him onto a trebuchet bucket, and we'll fire him against the walls. How'd you like that? Do you want that? Do you want us to splat your child? And eventually the besiegers who had him trussed up and ready to lash him against the wall went, "I can't do that to your kid." So the greatest knight that ever lived could have been cut off very short, because apparently not Daddy's favourite.
No.
But I just love the fact that his dad went, "Go ahead. Do him. I don't care. I'm going to make more, and they'll be better than he is." And little did he know that William was going to go on to become the greatest knight.
So great.
It probably that. Do you know what? It happens to us all. It's moments like that in our lives. That G us on to become greater. It's those old trebuchet moments.
Oh yeah, that'll do it, won't it? Yeah.
It won't be called Watershed from now on. It'll be called trebuchet moments. That's
Yeah, fascinating look at
gorgeous sculpts there. Gorgeous sculpts.
Stunning stuff once again from Mr. Hicks Esquire. Going a bit off-piste, though, with the Warriors of the Jungle.
Yeah, so not quite a 3D printing as the Shiz, but a sort of update on what Raging Heroes have been doing recently. So obviously over on Patreon, every month they do some new updates and things like that. We haven't talked about the ones for March this time around yet, but here's a look at the Warriors of the Secret Jungle that they've been working on. So over the past sort of while, they've been doing kind of I'd say alternative elven armies for you to use in the likes of Age of Sigmar and that kind of thing. Now they've kind of changed tack, and they've sort of done this really awesome set of miniatures that kind of would allow you to build a wild armory from the depths of the jungles. Obviously very heavily sort of Aztec and Mayan inspired. There's a really nice mix of sort of more human-looking individuals, as you can see here, alongside some very interesting sort of like lizard folk and all sorts of other strange creatures as well that have been worked into the mix too. It's a very sort of vibrant and over-the-top range, which I think is really nice. He's one of my favorites. I love that guy. He's very cool. And also this kind of like skink sorceress, I think is really awesome. If you're sort of going down the kind of Age of Sigmar-y Warhammer route. So it's pretty cool. You've also got the same thing as you'd normally find in all the Raging Hero releases. You've got all these different characters. You've also then got a whole bunch of sort of troops that you can use to sort of form the basis of your army. And then beyond that, you're going to have the big, huge terrain pieces that they always do, either at that kind of hero tier or sort of overlord tier as well, later on down the line. And Axolotl, everyone loves an Axolotl.
Churn out stuff this beautiful, this fast, and this consistent.
Yeah, like all of their sculpting team must be insane. Like it's pretty crazy.
I assume they're just chained to a wall somewhere.
Got a sweatshop going on, yeah.
Make me a lizard priestess, okay.
These are incredible, though. You know, really what an amazing! Like I love their vampires. I thought their vampires.
Their vampires were really nice.
Elves are amazing. For goodness' sake, you know, it's like wow.
Yeah, obviously all of these sort of like 32mm scale, so they'll be working with all the kind of heroic stuff out there. All 3D printable, so you'll download them and get your hands on them that way. Yes. As we always say when it comes to these kind of things, there's a big community built up around the Raging Heroes team where they can show you how to print all these off. Because obviously something like an axolotl mount like that is going to be something of a brain burner to get ready for the 3D printer, but they've got plenty of people who will help you with that and guide you through it. The way that I'd see to use these, a lot of people would be like, that'd be perfect for kind of like an alternative kind of Seraphon Lizardman-y style thing. I say make these wood elves or like wood elves, but do it as like a jungle theme.
Forest elves, yeah, rainforests.
I think that would be a really fun way to go with those.
And your, instead of dryads and the like, you have your lizards.
The wild creatures and the lizards and the sort of the feline folk as well. That'd be a really cool way to go. But yeah, lots of things there for you to check out over on their Patreon this month. The other really fun thing that I wanted to bring up as well, because we're nearing, we're coming close to it, is St. Patrick's Day. Yes, so St. Patrick's Day next week. And of course, Raging Heroes have done what only they could do to surmise all of the Irish culture.
They did a Jerry model.
Provide us with a Jerry.
Yeah, that is.
That will be not dissimilar to how I will look on some.
So you've got young Aegir there, who is kind of like your Norse Gaelic Viking fellow for you to drop into your games if you wanted to. Glugging back a fair amount of mead, I would imagine, as is the wont of a mighty warrior such as himself. There's also another special miniature as well, sort of going with the kind of like leprechaun pixie theme as well. So you've got this one too, which comes with a little pot of gold.
Little people, mate. Little people. We call them little people.
The little people, sorry, yes. And I really like that the pot of gold that she's carrying around with her is dented, because I love the fact that she uses that as a weapon and then she just beats people up with it. And then even if the gold comes out of it, don't worry, there'll be more as it flows ever through. But yeah, very cool.
And a tanker in the other hand as well.
And a tankard in the other hand.
So right.
And the pasties to go with it. But yeah, so you can either buy either of those individually, as you can see, so you can get Young Gay Gear or Silver Year, or you can buy both of them together in that sort of exclusive box. There are still going to be models available up until St. Patrick's Day.
I want that Jerry Mini. I really want that Jerry Mini.
I think everybody wants the
I'm fairly certain well, it might be because they often do something, because they have their own patron, the Heroes Infinite part, and if you get it in there, you often get a unique model that you don't get on Patreon.
Yeah, there was a.
And I think it's a little.
Yeah, there was like a little tiny sort of. I can't remember what they're called. Sort of like little tiny Lulu style miniature that was available last week, but obviously that's gone currently. But so unfortunately, if you're going to get it now, you only get those two lovely models rather than the three. But yes, some very cool stuff.
Missed out on another tinier person.
Another tiny person.
Tiny person, but still very good.
But yeah. So some good stuff there to get sort of specifically for this month, really. So yeah.
Happy days. What's next?
So we finish things off with our sort of mandated Games Workshop news. So for those people who are interested in the pre-orders coming up this weekend, it's all about Kill Team. So Kill Team Nachmund is going to be available pre-order this weekend. So you can go and check it out over on store.ontabletop and get your hands on one of these for a tasty discount. So yeah, this new set comes with the Corsair Void Guard and the Chaos Space Marines. As we've talked about in the past, I won't dwell on them too much, but it's a good way for you to dive in and pick up those. If you've picked up the new Eldari Codex, for example, these would be great to sort of include in your armies going forward. And of course, you've got the new Chaos Space Marines, or at least the new Chaos Space Marines sprue attached to the sort of older plastic kit as well there. So if you want to dive in and have fun with that, you can, including the happiest Chaos Space Marine that has ever lived.
Oh, that guy.
So, yeah, the guy in the middle. Oh, yeah.
He does love life.
I've seen his face photoshopped on so many different things.
Yeah. There's a very fun one of the front cover of the first Horus Heresy book where they have changed every Space Marine face to that guy. So that's quite funny.
Just the wave of faces, isn't it? Yeah.
There's also the stuff that...
Ben, it's simple. Like, if you had the horn the way he does,
well, yes,
you would have that grin too. So,
I bet stroking that does strange things. But yeah, so as well as that, the Kill Team release that kind of slipped out at the end of last month and end of last year, and no one really realized that it had happened, was Kill Team Chalnath. So this was one that contained the Pathfinders and the Novitiates for the Sisters of Battle. You can now pick up those 2 kill teams individually if you want to and get those, as well as the separate Kill Team Chalnath book. So if you want to go all of the updates from last year, you can pick up that and add that to your collection if you would like to. There's also the terrain set that was available as part of that box set. It's effectively kind of like the Gothic ruins of the new modern Warhammer 40,000, effectively. Very reminiscent of those old pieces of terrain that everybody had in their starter sets and stuff. But yeah, good for Imperial cities and the like. But yeah, so it's all going to be Kill Team focused this weekend. If you want to go and check those out and pick them up, as I say, head on over to store.ontabletop. We have some fun things there to go and have a go at. So yeah, very nice stuff. Yeah. Get started in something new. Yeah.
Very, very cool indeed.
I always say it
all the time. People at home have it as a drinking game now. You are the Robin.
They're all unconscious now.
How I Met Your Mother. But
curses.
We're going to take a quick swish, and when we come back, we'll be having a look at some 3D printing. Okay, Ben. So you've been a bit fickle with your choices for this week's 3D printing as the Shizney.
Yes.
What are we looking at?
So this is almost a combination of a 3D printing is the shiz, whilst also being a little bit of a kind of like indie as well. So this is quite a new one. So this comes from Fickle Dice Games. And the main reason I wanted to pick this out is because there is 3D printing involved, but it's a very small amount of 3D printing to begin with. So they are over on Patreon at the moment, but the idea is that they're trying to create a series of miniatures for use in their game called Gloom Trench. So Gloom Trench is a game sort of set in 1926. During a sort of extended World War I, where Britain have opened a weird portal to the unknown and the eldritch on the battlefields of Europe.
Nice.
Yes, the Department for the Investigation of Experimental Sciences dies. It's very good.
Oh, yeah, fantastic.
But this has also then led them to create some really interesting miniatures, and this which you can see sort of on here and also as part of their other things as well. So what they're going to be actually doing is creating sort of weird World War I miniatures with a little bit of a twist. And the first ones that have come out are some of their British soldiers, as you can see here. So they're really awesome so far. So they're like they're quite simple sort of 3D sculpts. Comes with the sort of the bodies and the arms all together, and then it comes with the little separate heads and things that you can put on top of them. If you go to their Instagram, there's actually some. Yeah, so there you go. So you can see some of the models they've been working on so far. So the initial ones, so these are some of the newer ones that they've been working on, which show slightly more sort of different poses.
Do you want me to go to the bottom and work my way up?
Actually, you can just go from that top layer. Top layer is fine. So
that's very generous of you.
Yeah. So the one on the right. No, the other one.
Not that one, Jerry.
Running around like headless chicken.
Yeah, exactly like these guys. Yeah, so these are some of the new ones they've been working on, which are sort of like they're slightly more animated troopers that they're going to be working on. And as you can see, as I say, like they've done sort of like very basic sculpts for these, where it's the bodies and the heads and the arms all together. And then there's different heads you can swap out for them. They're doing sort of gas masks and sort of unhelmeted heads and helmeted heads and all that kind of thing too. Sort of giving across that look of sort of World War I troopers fighting it out in the trenches, but then with sort of a little bit of a tweak here and there to make them look a little bit more bedraggled and slightly more weird and sort of odd. Like I like things like little tiny touches. So they've got like lots of different accessories and stuff all over their sort of pack and their equipment. And you've got things like the cracked glass on the sort of the gas mask there as well, where he's probably wearing that so he doesn't see the eldritch horrors that are awaiting him. We get to see those eldritch horrors ourselves, but they are coming, I've been assured. We also got a look at, these are some of the sort of ones they started off with when they sort of initially sort of set up their Patreon and that kind of thing. You've got slightly more sort of like static versions of the troopers, sort of with their rifles at the ready. Some of the newer ones have been the kind of sort of the Bren guns and all that kind of thing as well, sort of doing additional special weapons and everything on the side of that as well. So that's kind of like the 3D printing element of this, which I think is really nice. The creator actually has built a project over on Tabletop where they've been showing off what they've been doing with these, and actually some of the painted miniatures as well, which you can see here too. So according to the creator, they're not one for painting miniatures, but they've tried. So that's
shocking. That is.
Well, yeah. So that's why they've done this kind of like dirty, grimy looking miniatures, so that they can kind of get away with a lot of stuff that, you know, probably wouldn't get away with.
This is my kind of creator.
Exactly. Yeah.
Creating my kind of game.
Yep. And so this shows off how the 3D prints come out and all that kind of thing as well, as well as the process for kind of building the miniatures up and painting them, because one of the things that's quite nice about this is obviously the creator's been like, I want to show people how you paint these and how you could base them up for my game and all that kind of thing as well, which I thought was really nice. And I think the results of the 3D prints are really good, actually. I think a lot of the details been managed to be sort of captured by it, you know, considering that sort of these are like the first ones that we're seeing up on the Patreon. I think they're pretty good quality, and I think it'd be really fun to see where they go with these next.
I'm assuming that's a home 3D printer as well.
Yes, it is.
And not a
big industrial
8K prototyping one. So
it's a really fun little range. And the other thing that's really good about this, obviously, as I was mentioning there, is that this is actually going to be turning into a game as well. So that's where that kind of indie element comes in.
Are any of the rules out for the game yet?
I can't remember the rules are out yet, but I know there's a lot of sort of like talk about sort of where they'll go in the future.
Nice.
And I know that there's lots of stuff that you can do as part of the Patreon to feed back on what's happening with the game. I think it's all sort of like behind the Patreon at the moment as well. At the moment, but they have been talking about the background to all of this. Obviously, I said it's kind of got that kind of World War I feel to it, trench warfare, sort of English, the British versus the Germans and the French and everything else going on at the same time. But then with the weird, wicked, strange stuff going on at the same time. The one of the things that was quite nice that I read about the game is, well, there's a mechanic sort of based around this kind of weird scourge that exists, where when things go wrong, or if you like roll certain dice and like a test goes badly, that ticks towards the scourge appearing on the battlefield. So it's a little bit kind of like what's that game where the guy has to walk across all of like America and build bridges and that kind of thing? What was it called? Stranded. Something.
Forrest Gump.
Anyway, it was a weird sci-fi game anyway that was on PlayStation a couple of years ago. But anyway, it's kind of like that thing where, like, as things start to go weird and sort of a bit off, the scourge sort of works its way into the reality and starts making its way onto the tabletop. Thing's really cool. So it'd be really nice to see, hopefully, the creator behind Fickle Dice Game and these miniatures actually coming to the tabletop and making some fun and interesting sort of rules posts as part of the projects, talking about the game and how it flows. Obviously, we're seeing things like the sort of stat lines and everything could be worked up already for this kind of thing, which is really nice.
D8.
Everyone loves a good D8. The only dice that I've
while you were slobbering on there,
slobbering on. This is important information. Damn you,
Jerry highlighted one of the most important pieces of information, and that is yes, we love this guy.
Yeah.
We love this because he has a mentality similar to probably to myself and Jerry on this, in that the basing is very, very straightforward. One model on a 30mm base, two models on a 40mm base, three models on a 50mm base, something like that anyway. But and you're removing complete bases, and if you need to, you remove a 3 and you put in a 2. I really like this. The reason is it gives you the opportunity to do some really nice kind of basing options. I like it. Yeah. I'm keen to see, right? Firstly, if it's going to be a trench kind of game, let's do a really good trench game. Let's do a really, really good trench game and then have tentacles coming out of the walls.
Oh, yeah.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
So it's like there should be two enemies. The enemy and then the enemy of my enemy.
That's the interesting thing, because one of the things I forgot to mention actually about the Scourge is it's actually sort of AI controlled within the game. Right. So you'll play out your fights between the different factions, and then the Scourge, that kind of weird eldritch thing, will start to come after you or both factions and that kind of thing on the tabletop, which sounds pretty fun. So
it worked very well for The Walking Dead, where you don't make
having another foe.
You don't make the main threat faction a playable faction. You make it just always there, always present, and something you have to deal with while you're attempting, because attempting to walk across no man's land, terrible. Attempting to walk across no man's land while not being eaten by a scourge, probably worse.
You could call them trenchicles, Warren.
Trenchicles. Wow.
All of a sudden, it gives you a very good reason to have trench boards in there. Exactly. It's not for the water; it's more for the tremors-like thing. You don't want to be standing in mud; they get you easier.
And the beauty of a trench is that they don't only come from below; they can come
from the sides.
The sides above you.
Yeah.
Be down in the tunnel trying to blow people up.
That's sinister.
How long before we see the last of the
you get the best of everywhere. Do you know what it's like? It's like Aliens. Do you know the way in Aliens, it's all corridors, right? And you can end up trapped. But this way, you can not only end up trapped, they could come from anywhere, in through the thing, and you could have dead guys like Aragon walked past one, right? Imagine Aragon in 1920 whatever. And was still maybe not as cleanly shaven, and he was walking past that dead guy, but this time the guy got up with a big tentacle hanging out, chasing around the trench with his
weirdly enough.
We got to get Justin to play this game. He's going to love this.
Weirdly enough, I did think it'd be really fun to kind of use the War Games Atlantic World War I miniatures and make a World War I fellowship based on sort of taking the idea of like Tolkien's kind of like time in World War I and using that as inspiration for kind of like a little fellowship of adventurers that done in the historical way. I don't know how I'd do it, but
if you've never seen it, and weirdly there's a Lord of the Rings connection. There was a film came out in the early 2000s called Death Watch, set in the trenches of World War I, starring Gollum. Andy Serkis is in it as a real person, not a CGI thing. Wow. And it's World War I horror, essentially.
Is that the one with the bunker where they go in and they have to fight their way out of it? Or is it?
No.
Is there?
No, because, but there was a bunker came out at the same time, but this is specifically World War I.
Oh, okay.
And it's a group of British soldiers in a trench with some German soldiers. And it all goes very wrong. And that just screams this. Madness.
I like a sound of this.
Yeah, it's worth having a look at.
My sort of idea was that, if you want to dive into some 3D printing, there are some files for you to go and check out and sort of join in with the Patreon and get those. But then hopefully you'll see those and you'll be inspired to either use them in whatever game you want, or you could use them in the game that Fickle Dice Games have been working on in the background. And you could help in the design of that and how that comes to life and everything as well. So we've seen
fantastic.
Get in at the ground level.
Yeah,
thank you to Fickle Dice Games for continuing to prove that 3D printing is truly the
Very true. You said it.
Kickstarters. Who picked them this week?
So me and Free, and also Jerry, which is also me. So all of us really picked them this time. So
okay, right. Well, let's stuck in. What have we got this week?
So the first of these actually comes from the folks at Crooked Dice. They are expanding their pulp sci-fi world with one that absolutely blew my socks off and got me thinking about Flash Gordon and all sorts of different things. So this is it's Pirates of Lunar City, but it's actually Rick Rhodes and the Pirates of Lunar City.
Oh,
that's the way you should really say it.
Yeah.
That's the way you should go. But yeah, so this is going to be a brand new program guide for use with 70 feet pulp, which plays out the sequel to the film series that never was, where you play as Rick Rhodes, the heroic leader of the Radium Rangers, as he tries to save the darling prince of the galaxy from the pirates of Lunar City, who have captured him and taken him away to their strange abode on a distant planet. And as is the case, this is all going to be played out in a very sort of TV style fashion on the tabletop, as is the want with 7TV, using a whole bunch of new heroes and villains and aliens and all sorts of
Lion Man!
There are lion men. There is a lion prince. So yeah, when you back this, you can dive in at, there's like sort of 3 different sort of pledge levels. There's the hero pledge level, which gets you all the heroes, the Radium Rangers, the guys with their rocket packs on their backs. You can go for the villain pledge, which gets you the pirates and some of the aliens that they have sort of ganged up with. There is also an STL only pledge, which allows you to get a hold of a bunch of terrain to print off at home. And then on top of that, because obviously this is a big Crooked Dice Kickstarter, they have exploded through stretch goals and add-ons and all kinds of things like that. So you'll be able to buy a whole bunch of personalities that are Rick Rhodes and his heroes, alongside some of the villainous sort of dramatis persona that you'll run into during your games. And I think, well, we'll have to see actually when it comes to the stretch goals, they were working towards making a physical version of the rocket ship that you see there that could be sent out to backers. I don't know if that's been unlocked yet, but we'll see when we scroll down through this page. But yeah, it's a smorgasbord of amazing new miniatures from the folks at 7TV. They love what they're doing, and it clearly comes through in the sculpts and the sort of designs that they make for the different games. They've got a real passion for this and kind of bringing back to life a lot of these kind of classic sci-fi movies and TV shows from way back in the day. And yeah, it's a fun one indeed to sort of dive into and have a little bit of fun with, especially if you're a painter who maybe wants to try and do something a little bit different, because obviously there's kind of got this feel of that kind of retro sci-fi TV show. You can play around with this and paint in some really bright, bold colors and have a lot of fun with it. And they have unlocked the physical 3D.
Unlocked, but limited to 50 backers. I'm not going to scroll down, but I'm going to go out and limit and say, they're gone.
It's probably gone by now. But anyway, there's a whole bunch of other stuff for you to go and check out as well and dive into there. As I say, it works with the 7TV pulp sort of system. Yeah. So if you're familiar with that came out a couple of years ago, then it's sort of just a little bolt onto that. And you can have fun with some crazy aliens and start doing over-the-top voices and acting and maybe
get out
even
the
acting
metallic
out some
pants.
Yeah, get out the metallic pants and some glitter and all sorts of different things. That's how you make an alien. Just give them glittery skin. That's the
It's amazing. I love this. I love this so much because I spent so much time watching the original black and white Flash Gordon. It used to be on a stupid o'clock on like a Saturday morning. And so you could get up and it was like one of the only things that was on the 3 channels that were actually live at that point. So it's great seeing things like Professor Kravznov there.
I'm getting emotional now because I'm thinking back to Sunday morning TV, or was it Saturday morning TV? Do you remember, was it Rocket Man?
Yes.
And he had he would run towards the edge of the cliff. He would turn the dial and then go.
I always have just been the Rocketeer, but yeah, it was great. It was another classic. I think they've got him kicking around as well. But yeah, there's some fantastic stuff if you plan on invading Mungo and dealing with Ming and his people. I mean, even whenever you're looking at the choice of terrain there, where they've gone Ice World, Lava World, and Tree World, and you're just going, well,
that's
I know
3 episodes.
I know where they're from.
This is familiar.
Yeah, interesting to see what they come up with next. I love the Death Ray.
Yeah,
because no space villain would be complete without some sort of massive death ray, so that he can try and fire back at Earth.
What do you call the
Martian?
Marvin the Martian.
Yes,
right. 23 days left on Pirates of Luna City. Who's next?
We're going for more pirates, but these aren't the same pirates we've just looked at. Okay, so if you're a fan of BORG and fancy taking some of that messed up brutality to the high seas, you can, because using free lead third-party license, Pirate BORG has been created by Limithron.
Yeah.
There you go. I said it. With 21 days left on the clock. And ridiculously funded. So it didn't take long. It only took 30 minutes to reach the goal. The standalone game brings a highly lethal environment with an open world of opportunities. Plus, engaging in barbaric plundering and ruthless swashbuckling. So the world that the game is contained, it's got no pre-written plot whatsoever. So whatever you want to create, whatever you want your character to be, whatever you want your ship to be, your own hat, even where that come from and its origins. You've got creative freedom in this to explore. Exactly. So me, when I got this idea, I was thinking, okay, I could play a failed axe wielder who faced ridicule on land and took to the apocalyptic seas to start new and corrupt sadistic morals. in a poorly corrupted ship fueled by alcohol addiction. This is the character I got for this. So
that's very more Borgian. So
say plundering for us again.
Plunder.
Say plundering.
Plundering.
I swear to God, somebody in the community is going to make a soundboard of free. And plundering is definitely going to be.
Do you know what's going to be the top one?
Plundering, yeah.
Do you know what will be the top one, which is what I've got the most messages for? Doan. Doan will be the top one. Doan. Thanks. Go and watch Doan. It's great. But yeah, you've got your own creative freedom to do and explore whatever world you want. So it's a wide world and it is willing to be explored. So you can head to sunken shipwrecks, you can plunder lost treasure, or seek out artifacts of value in the jungle. There is so much to have a look at. So the opportunity is certainly there. But as I said, don't expect the world to be forgiving, as the world is blissfully unforgiving. So Limithron is known for its range in assets in RPGs. It's got maps, content for settings, and the game's been pulled in through so many different avenues. And Jerry's just gone past the map there of all the different inspiration he's taken, coming from games, historical events, movies like Assassin's Creed, Escape Dark Castle, and Treasure Island. So there's tons of extras as part of the campaign. So you've got your classes there as well. You've got different physical, digital, and stretch. What's that?
One of the ships
is a raft.
Well, yeah.
They say no man is an island, but if you tie a bunch of bodies together, they make a pretty good raft.
It will work. Stretch goals are unlocking at an alarming rate. There's new classes coming, such as the Haunted one. There's new ships added, the Man of War, and there's several component upgrades as well. There's also zines for additional monsters, NPCs, and a ton of add-ons you could add as well. There is so much going on this campaign. It just keeps going and going.
It's one of the things that we'll come to weirdly in a second when we move on to the next Kickstarter. But the thing that's really good about York, how you want to say it, is that it's this very sort of horrible world, as we were saying at the start. Like, it's a world where when you step into it, death is almost guaranteed at some point, and things never go as you might think they do. And when you try to take that and you attach it to this kind of weird, fantastical, piratical adventure, I think it's the perfect marrying of different worlds of kind of like traditional fantasy and pirates.
Yes, because stick to the shallows, because the Kraken is going to kill you if you go too far. That kind of thing.
These are the guys, as you say, that like explore the weird corners of the map and all that kind of thing. So it's perfect for sort of weird and wacky adventures where things could go wrong in an instant and your characters could get ripped to shreds by zombie monkeys or something like that. So cool.
Exactly. There's plenty in this campaign to fit in with your BORG campaign as well. So if you are currently running something, it is adaptable, so you could extend your current campaign and head out into deep blue brutality, or completely start fresh with just a pirate campaign, the pirate BORG campaign.
I think the fact that Limithron's done these additional extras is really big for this as well, because you're not just buying the book, you can get everything that you need to then play the game, which I think is a really fun little thing, because there are so many times where you're like, oh, I've got the book, but then it would be nice to have maps and all that kind of thing. They've obviously done all this stuff before, as you say, so it's a really nice wealth of resources for them to draw on. So very cool.
Yeah, 20 days left on the clock for that one. So
it's a bit wah. As they once put it out from BORG, the important thing is to make sure it's dark, depressing, and don't get hung up too much. Make sure that you kill all your players.
Don't get attached to your character,
You could say, Jerry, that it's a bit yar.
Say what you take.
Okay, what's next?
Well, to finish things off, I thought we'd stick with BORG.
Nice.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, nice.
In Boris's ongoing mission to empty my wallet of all my money. They've got in contact with the guys to actually do official miniatures for the original BORG license, because it's a weird little system in that it is freely available for third-party licensors, like we've just seen with the Pirates. There's a sci-fi version, Cyborg. There's been some
BORG.
Death metal gaming, I think, is probably not a bad way of putting it. And to that end, Westfalia and Boris's immutable talent has been put to good use, where they went, you see how this game is filled with crazy images that look like they've been drafted in from somebody's cheese-fueled nightmares. We need somebody to make these. And so Boris went, hold my cheese. Got stuck straight in there. It's an incredibly small, very compact and bijou range that they blew through it and all the stretch goals in so short amount of time that they've had to kind of go, right, we'll be back when we've looked at this again, because I don't think they were expecting so many people to jump on this so quickly. But the Rotting Lands of MORK BORG, I mean, the concept art from the game itself is particularly insane, and Boris's execution of the sculpts is perfect for it. When you see things like the heretical priest or the flayed ones, the gutter-born scum,
very basically ripped from the pages of the RPG, which is great.
There is in here one of the happiest trolls you will ever see. By the way. It is so happy, but it's just such an unusual set. This one in particular, I was reminded so much of the art style and art direction from Rackham's Confrontation.
That
may just
very
be me.
Bonner.
Especially because I've seen a couple of them painted up, and somebody painted it like that as well. But you can go, there's only two pledges. There's the Give Me Everything, which I'm in, or there's the $1 pledge where you can just go in and pick up whatever bits and pieces you want. Skelly Joe is exclusive. He's from the front cover of the original RPG. Isn't he happy?
He's adorable.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be hit by his
It's like his first day out on the adventure, isn't it?
I just want to tell you a really cool thing about the goblins.
Mum's giving him a shield that's too big. Bless him.
The goblins in MORK BORG are very different from your normal ones. They're really easy to kill, obviously. But if they cut you or they bite you and then you don't kill them, you will turn into a goblin within a couple of days. So and it specifically says in the rules for goblins, if you don't kill the goblin that bit you, and it has to be the goblin that bit you, then something terrible is going to happen to you and you're going to turn into a goblin. And it says, but you don't need to land the killing blow. So if the goblin just happens to fall off a cliff, or one of the other goblins kills it, then you're saved. So
the undead dolls are particularly fun.
Yeah.
My favorite is the second one. So despite warding rituals and returning as vengeful undead in throngs to hunt their tormentors, throngs, they said, and this little one with her scissors just going, passion. I just, every time Boris does something, I need to own it for a start. Yeah. But it's always, at no point can you ever say that his work is derivative, because I've never seen anything that he's done where you're going, well, I've seen that before from another company, or it looks like another sculptor's work. It is all so uniquely Boris-based. There is the happiest troll. Look at him.
Oh.
Will you be my friend?
He does look like a happy little doggo, doesn't he? Give him a bone of flesh, you'll be fine.
I'd be grand. And hopefully he won't rip you apart when you come charging in there. So stretch goal wise, we've got the Goblin with Bow, the jammed door. It's only jammed because there's half a dead person in it. Presumably knocking to get in. Going, I'd like to sell you a Kickstarter. Have you heard about our Lord and Savior? Bollocks. Aland, I love Aland and the lamp there. I'm still trying to work out where a head exists, if ever.
Is it under?
The lamp
it could be the lamp.
Head,
it could be the skull at the back. Who knows? It's best not to check. And I bent, is he really a thief? Is he just absolutely mental? He looks like the sort of thing that you would encounter in, like, you've left the tavern to go on your adventure and then you meet this thing in the alleyway behind it, and then your adventure never really takes off because you spent too much time running for your lives. They are just a thing of beauty. Sweet, sweet beauty. So, like I say, incredibly small little bespoke Kickstarter, which absolutely blew up. I want to say they're like $60,000 US or something like that against a target of about £5. Where are we? 85,000 almost against 10,000 played. So they ramped through everything that they had intended to do in short order.
That is awesome.
And it's a very short campaign, but it only needed to be very short because there wasn't much in it. I don't know if they'll be able to come back and come up with something else before it ends. But you've got 9 days to check it out and jump on board the MORK BORG train. Choo choo.
Fan-dabby-dozy.
Yeah. So there we have it. Another week's worth of news gone for you. Don't forget to join us next week on the Friday night for more Weekender, but also on the Saturday for the extravaganza that will be 3 men hungover doing a live stream.
Yes. Give shit away, Jerry. Give it away.
A rectangular thing. Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. Tom hasn't seen how much it's going to cost to ship out the prizes yet. He's not allowed to know.
No.
That's between us. Don't tell Tom. But if you want to see more of this madness, you can join us on Sunday where we'll be doing the XLBS for our Cult of Games members over on tabletop.com. If you're not already a member, you can get a 30-day trial and join us then. And don't forget, next Saturday, be there. Or be some sort of horrendous Boris sculpt of a MORK BORG miniature.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.